Well, we are here to answer questions or maybe give you a little bit of guiding into how you can apply for your own post-graduation work permit. Of course, we are also here to assist you if you decide to hire our services. I'm going to introduce myself, Ariana Chavez. I am one of the two founders of Canada Platform. My business partner, Veronica Diaz, will also join us today. And we prepared this presentation to make it easier for you to go through the steps and apply for your post-graduation work permit, which is in upcoming, right? So let me go to the next slide. And I'm going to let my business partner to introduce herself, and we're going to start this presentation.
Hi, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Veronica Diaz. I'm one of the registered immigration consultants in Canada Platform. So I'm happy to be here and thank you for the invitation. Well, we're gonna talk about, Ariane mentioned it, the post-graduate work permit. We just wanna go through the presentation to explain what the work permit is. International students that came to Canada with eligible institutions and eligible study programs are able to apply for an open work permit based on the requirement of being graduated for specific study programs. You need to comply with certain conditions as students. So basically, if you came to Canada and you picked the correct study program at the correct designated learning institution, you most likely will be able to apply for this open work permit. What is the objective of this work permit? Immigration wants to provide international students with the valuable work experience after they completed their studies.
Okay, so what do we need? We want to apply for a post-graduation work permit. We are graduating, congratulations. So the next step is to gather the documents. To qualify, you must have been a student full-time in every one of the semesters, except for the last one. There is an exception made for the last semester. If you only did one class in your last semester or two classes, you still qualify. By full time, we mean at least 3 classes per semester or per period, per term. And that would have been enough. If you did more classes, some people do, that's also fine. Compliance of the program. When we come to Canada and we apply for a study permit, we tell Canada we are going to come to this school and we are going to do this program. If you did that, then you qualify. For the most part, Accenda's students, they are qualified. They don't have any problems. Other exceptions may apply to other people who came to study English only or who, they didn't follow, they changed schools maybe and they didn't let Canada know, things like that. So as for the documents, for the requirements, we need a letter of completion of studies that the school is going to give you. Danila will share more information about that later, but this letter is one of the 2 requirements that probably you don't have as of yet. The other one is the transcript. It may be an official transcript or it may be a non-official transcript yet, but it has to be the latest transcript that you have available from your website at the time of application. Of course, you don't need the other paperwork like a passport. You have to scan your whole passport with all the pages that have a stamp. Probably you went back home and you came back during your studies. All the time that you have a stamp on your passport, you have to also include those pages. You need a digital photograph, possibly the same process that you did when you apply for your study permit. Digital photograph is part of the requirements. And one thing that many people don't know is also to include the current study permit, but also the previous status documents that you had. If you had a visitor record at one point, or 2 study permits, or a study permit and a work permit, include them all. And equally important is if you plan on working on an area that you need to have contact with vulnerable population, older population or children, or in the health sector, you also need to do a medical exam in order to have your work permit that will allow you to work in these positions. If you don't have to work in those positions or you don't plan to, then don't worry about the medical exam. And this post-graduation work permit will be issued to you for up to 3 years. How do we ensure that we qualify for the up to 3-year post-graduation work permit? You have to demonstrate that you studied in Canada for at least 2 years. Your program is a bachelor's program. So it is a program valid for 3 years of education or longer. If you graduated from Accenda, even if you transfer from another school, your graduation will be valid for a post-graduation work permit for 3 years, so you are on the good side. Also, this is a once in a life benefit, and a lifetime benefit. Only you can apply one time for the post-graduation work permit. One frequent question is, Ariane, I already applied for a post-graduation work permit because I did a diploma previous to coming to my current school. Can I still apply for this post-graduation work permit because it's going to be longer? That would be a no. That would be a disqualifier. Okay, so hopefully you're not in that situation. Most people are not, so you will be good to go. And also, this is a post-graduation work permit that you apply, and in very rare occasions, it can be extended. We're going to share 2 occasions where it can be extended in the next slides.
Okay, well, it's important that you understand that what is the cost of the application. You will have to pay when you are uploading your information and all your documents. You will have to pick correctly what fees you need to cover. It's important because we know that sometimes when the students do it on their own, the website is no like if you don't understand the difference between the fees that you have to pick, you may miss one. So it's important that you pay for the work permit fee, which is $155, but you also pick the option of an open work permit fee. When you are doing it on your own, you have to click on both. Don't miss this important fact because we have seen in the past people missing one of these, and one is of the reasons of rejection of the postgraduate work permit, okay? If you haven't done your biometrics in the past, which by now, 2024, most likely you did before coming to Canada, you will have to pay extra $85. How can you know if you, how can you know if you already take your biometrics in the past? When you apply for your current study permit, at the end of the process, before you received the approval of your application, you received a letter from IRCC in your same account saying the letter of validity of your biometrics. If in doubt, there is also an online tool where you can enter your information, personal information, and you can see if you have biometrics in the past and if they are still valid. Okay, so if you have them valid, you don't need to pay for extra $85. Okay, and in rare cases, if you somehow have to restore your status, you have to pay for an additional fee. When you have to pay for this restoration status? When you miss the deadline to apply for your postgraduate work permit. There is a rule. You have to be careful when it's your date of graduation in terms of immigration. The day for immigration, from immigration point of view, is not the day that you're gonna go and receive your diploma in the graduation event. A lot of people think that's their graduation date. No, you graduate from your study program when you receive either the letter of completion from your school or the official transcript from your school. Most likely, you will receive first the letter of completion, and most likely you will receive the official transcript the same date or few weeks later. So the day that you receive this important document, that day is when the timing start counting. You have 90 days to apply for your postgraduate work permit and keep your status as it is and not paying this restoration status. The rule to apply for the post-graduation work permit is 180 days, but that doesn't mean that you have to keep your status in Canada. So even though you have 180 days to apply for your work permit, we encourage you to apply within the 90 days. Otherwise, you will have to restore your status in Canada. So if you don't have to restore your status, which is possibly the most valuable option as today because you are about to graduate, then just keep in mind, apply within 90 days after that date when you receive your documents from Accenda.
Okay, so what are one of the factors that would prevent anyone from receiving their post-graduation work permit? A big factor is the loss of status. Veronica just talked about it. Students do not realize that their permit is the status, but the status expires even if the study permit is still valid. Okay, so that's something that's really important here. Even if your study permit is still valid for another 6 months or longer, the status is the thing that you don't have after 90 days of graduation. That's why you have to keep your status. There are other options you can, if you don't want to apply because it's your strategy, I want to have a good job before I apply so I don't waste any time. Some people think that way, it's valid. You would have to change your eligibility, your status from a student to a visitor. But it's one more application and it's one more complication. So let's try not to go there. Apply within the 90 days. Also, some people take breaks, and it's totally fine to take a break from school, but the break has to be approved by the school. If any one of you took a break for X reason, you have to have evidence of that the break was actually approved by Accenda. Some people also change schools. Somebody came to, I don't know, school X, and from there you change to Accenda. You had to have this announced to IRCC using a web form and letting them know that you changed from one letter of acceptance to another one, from one designated learning institution to another one. If you didn't do this, there may be a little bit of a complication for your post-graduation work permit. It's still not a refusal, but it could maybe take longer scrutiny on your application. Also, you have to know the rules. Some people were asking me recently, somebody from Accenda, can I take one online class every semester? Up until today's status, yes. Up until today's rules, yes. People can take online classes. But these are different conditions during COVID and then a little bit after COVID. So there are different conditions for every period that you were a student. You have to know if you took online classes, you have to take those into account to make sure that you were not breaking any of the rules or the conditions on your study permit. Also, point number 5, I already mentioned, if you already had a post-graduation work permit before, they will not give you another one. And also, this is a less known fact. If somebody received a scholarship by Global Affairs, or there are other organizations also, that the scholarship condition is that people or students return to their countries to give back. Some scholarships are provided by their country of origin. They come, study, and the condition is please come back to your country and offer what you learned in Canada to the community. If you receive one of those scholarships, then you wouldn't be approved for a post-graduation work permit. Most people are not in this situation, so also it's keep it in your mind if it applies to you. Otherwise, you can forget about this point. And also, this is not applicable to you, but something that would affect somebody from receiving a post-graduation work permit would be to study in a school that has lost their designated learning institution number or who never had it. Language schools, schools that are not approved by Canada to teach people from other countries, they wouldn't be eligible. But that does not apply to Accenda, okay? So you're on the clear.
Okay, so what are the most common errors for applicants that decide to apply on their own? Is the first one is not submitting a complete application. We try to go through the most important information. So if you decide to do it on your own, try to read everything. The guides online are complete, and then you just need to make sure you submit everything. For example, the photograph needs to be within the 6 months of taking the photograph. Like, you have to check everything and read all the instructions. The second most common error is not complying with the with your study permit conditions. As Ariane mentioned it earlier, if you took a break in the studies, it needs to be approved. But also there is a second rule that this break shouldn't last longer than 150 days. So hopefully none of today's students that are accompanying they have any kind of this problem, but it's something that you have to keep in mind. The third one is, if your study permit expiring before your letter of completion of the studies issue, is really important. It's important that you start planning ahead. We usually, when we take clients, when we will provide this kind of services, we start working with them a month prior their the day they're gonna receive the official documents, to work on their forms, to work in all the documents, and just waiting for the official documents to submit the application online. It's common when people move from one DLI to another one, that maybe the second study permit expires before the completion of the studies, or if they took some breaks, they also may be in this situation. If you obtain your study permit and you have no issue with this, usually people who obtain the study permit, they have 3 months of
Grace.
grace after the completion after the estimated date of graduation, and immigration give them these 3 months for you to comply with all the requirements and submit your postgraduate work permit. But if you are in this situation, please make sure you apply before the expiration of your study permit. Otherwise, you will have to restore your status, okay? And the next one is expecting more than what the program offers. Maybe this goes to people who think their study program or the DLI was eligible, and at the end it wasn't. It's not going to be your case as an extended study student. So you just have to make sure you understand if you are a visa required country or a visa exempt country nationality. If you are a visa exempt country nationality, then you're gonna obtain a valid ETA when they approve your postgraduate work permit. And with that ETA, you're gonna be able to travel while you are a postgraduate work permit holder. However, if you are a visa required national, then you're gonna have to obtain a visa in a separate application. You won't be able to submit a temporary visitor application unless you have your postgraduate work permit already issued. So you have to first apply for your postgraduate work permit, get it mailed to you, receive it, and then you can apply for the visitor visa. That is the one that you get stamped in the passport. It's important for those nationals that have this additional requirement. And the last common error is you have to be, since now I will recommend you to check what is the expiration date of your passport. If your passport is gonna be equal or is gonna be valid for longer than 3 years, you won't have any problem. Your work permit will be issue for 3 years from the day that is approved. But if your passport is gonna about to expire, then from today you know that you will get this postgraduate work permit just issue until the validity of your current passport. And then you're gonna have to apply for an extension. That is one of the few exceptions that Ariana is gonna talk about in the next slides. But there is not much you can do about it unless you obtain a urgent passport that is valid for 5 or 10 years from 2024. But most nationalities don't allow you to obtain a new passport unless is about to expire. So if that's the case, then you just need to apply 2 times. There is nothing to be a worry about it. Just apply now, obtain your postgraduate work permit for the validity of your passport, and then apply for an extension when your new postgraduate work permit is about to expire.
Thank you, Vero. Okay, so we get to the good part. When can I work full time? When is this experience going to be valid for my Canadian experience class so I can apply through express entry in the future? The application is sent, and the day that you send this application, that day you are a full-time worker or a worker status. You have a worker status. You can work in any position, in any area that you are qualified for, of course, and you are hired on with no restrictions. You will have no hours restrictions. Some people say, oh, you can work 40 hours. No, you could have 2 jobs, or you can have 1 job that you work 40 hours and then some overtime. There is no limit. That is why it's called an open work permit. Okay, so how can you prove it to a potential employer? Most people know by now that when somebody applied for a work permit after graduation, then they are okay to work full-time for any company. But in the remote case that people don't know, or the company they don't know, you are going to receive a letter of work permit authority. They are going to send it to you in your account, or if you have a representative, we would give it to you. And they usually issue them for 6 months. They used to issue it for 3 months, but then they realized that they were not approving the permits on time. So now they change it to a little bit longer. They issue this time because they think that within this period of time, they are going to grant you your actual work permit. This letter, you can use it to show it to any potential employer. Yes, I am employed. You can also use it to send it to MSP. If your coverage is expiring soon, you can send it to them and they will know that you are on maintained status and you can continue to have the benefit of insurance. Okay, so then they are going to assess your work permit application, and if everything goes well, they are going to approve it. I have sent work permit applications recently. One, they approved it in 5 days. My client thought I was great, but it's not me. I just did what I always do. I sent a complete application. Then the time that immigration takes to assess the application and grant you the post-graduation work permit, that is out of our hands. My hands, Veronica's hands, or any professional hands. We cannot guarantee that your post-graduation work permit will be approved within a certain time or at all. What we can promise is a good application, a complete application submitted on time with all the requirements that they request. And just to almost get to the end, I'm going to mention the other time where a post-graduation work permit was extended, and it was during the pandemic. They extended, and based on Canada's need for workers, they have done a couple of exemptions, and one of them was to grant the ability to extend the post-graduation work permit, first for 1 year and then for 18 months to students who had graduated previously. I don't think that this is going to be a continuing program, so make the most of your post-graduation work permit. Ensure you get a qualified job that will help you to get 40 points if you are single, or 35 points if you have a partner, husband or boyfriend that you live with them, for your express entry application that you are going to be preparing, hopefully in a year. Okay, and now I'm going to go to the last slide before we get to questions. I already see some people, somebody was raising their hand and some other questions maybe in the chat. So I'll let Veronica finish.
Well, we just want to give our contact information. How we work with clients that want our services is, as I was saying before, we work prior the estimated date of graduation. And then we can give you the opportunity to continue working, because it's important that you understand that the moment that you receive the letter for graduation or the official transcript, that day is the day that your status as a student finalized. So that means that you should be stopped working if you are currently working with an employer, and then it's going to be important for you to keep that continuing working. So how we can help you is we work in advance and we're just waiting for that letter of graduation, and the day they give it to you, you send us, and then depending on the timing of you send that document, we can submit that application the same date or the latest next day. So you give your authority to continue working, and the transition from studying to a working is smooth, and you don't lose any day of working with Canada and with authorization within Canada. So you are more than welcome to contact us. So I think now is gonna be the time to take questions. So I don't know if someone in Accent that's gonna help us, or we just start reading them ourselves.